Hello, and welcome to the Borcherding Index, Basketball Edition, the world's most comprehensive, unnecessary, and overly complicated fantasy basketball rating system. For those of you familiar with the Borcherding Index, the football version, a lot of this will be kind of similar to that. There is one major difference, though. So, fantasy basketball for our league is head to head categories. So, whoever wins the most categories out of 9 for a week gets the win. So, your record counts as each week you get a win or a loss, similar to how you would in fantasy football. But fantasy football is point scoring. So, your players do different things in their game, and that gives you points. Whereas in our basketball league, it's not a points-based league. It is a category league. So your wins and losses work similar to football, but how you win is very different. So for that reason, we have a little bit of a different system, different calculation for doing the Borcherding Index. So for starters, let's go with what the metrics are. So there are 3 metrics similar to football. The first metric is win percentage, just like it is in football. The second category is category wins. So each week you win a certain number of categories out of 9. And what I do is I put in how many categories you won that week. If you tied your opponent, then I put it as a half. And so each week you can see what your percentage is of the points that you had. So the ratio here is over the course of the season, what percentage of those categories are you winning? Yeah, pretty straightforward. For the last one is called category superiority. This is over the week, how would you have compared to the other teams who played as well? So it's hard to do a direct head-to-head of, oh, I would have beaten this team and that team or the other team. In order to do that, I would have to do a major calculation, like a really time-intensive measurement of every team, write down what they got, and then go through every single team and see, okay, would you have won 9 or 5 or 4 categories against this team? And it would just take forever. So what I do is I calculate the ranking for a team in each of the 9 categories. So if you look at the current week, which is week 6, what I do is I go through and I look at the week and I rank from 11, highest ranking in that category, down to 0, lowest ranking in the category. So basically, how many teams did you outperform in that category? So Borcherding outperformed all 11 other teams, and Western Aces outperformed none. I do that for every category of all 9. And then what I do is I add all those together to give your total category score for the week. Now, that doesn't mean, so Beer Drinking Ballers had the highest score. That doesn't mean he would have beaten every single team. For example, he would have beaten every team in steals, but while he was second in blocks, he would have lost blocks to 8.9 seconds. So just because you had a higher score doesn't mean he would have necessarily won that week. So it's not a perfect analysis on how well you would have done compared to all the other teams, but it gives you a reasonable idea of overall for the week, how did you perform? I think a little bit better than just the category score overall. Because if you play a team that just has a really bad week, you may have not done that well, but their team was very poor. And so just because you win, here we go, 8-1, doesn't necessarily mean that you played that well. It just means that you were better than them. And so this goes to kind of show that a little bit better. So in putting the ranking index together, it works similar to football. So it's 100 times, and then I add the 3 metrics together. So these are already in ratios, so it's just the ratio times the weight. So I rated wins 0.3. In football, it's 0.4 because I feel like the wins are a little more self-explanatory. In basketball, because of it being head-to-head categories, I feel like wins are a little more random than they are in the head-to-head points. So 0.3 times that, 0.35 times the category score, and 0.35 times the category superiority. So put those all together and you get your rank, and you can see where we are here so far in the season. This seems pretty, the eye test works for me on this. So Borcherding has the highest rating. They have 6 wins. If you look in the other metrics, they're the highest in the category wins, and they are the second highest in the category superiority. So that makes sense to me as far as why they're so much higher than everyone else. And then Beer Drinking Ballers has 3 wins compared to 4 for Home Depot. That also makes sense. Again, if you look at the other metrics, you'll see that Beer Drinking Ballers is highest in the category superiority, which is particularly telling given how poor they were in the first 2 weeks. So they've been very strong in that the last 4, and so that helps their cause. They also are pretty good in the category. Again, the first 2 weeks were not particularly good, but have been pretty strong since then. So that also works on the eye test. And the overall scale should be about the same. So 70 is very good. 50s is fine, average, above average. 40s is kind of below average, and then lower than that is poor. So the way it looks kind of makes sense to me. I feel like it fits a lot of what we're looking to do here with this. So this should give you a little bit of an idea how this works. Again, this is kind of the inaugural test, so I'm sure there'll be some tweaks to it as we go on. We see how this season progresses. The biggest test will be when we get close to the playoffs. Do the rankings seem to match the playoff teams? Or if there's a team that's high in the rankings that's not in the playoffs, does their performance make sense and just their luck is bad? So we'll look at it as the year goes, but I'm excited to get it out there, roll it out, and see how it works. And we'll see from there. Thanks, and as always, good luck coming in second.